Good evening, AUB alumni and AUB friends. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this important webinar on parenting, a topic that touches the core of our daily lives and shapes the future of our children and community. I would like to extend a special welcome to our expert speaker, Alumni Najwa Kabbara, and our esteemed moderator, Dr. Gracia Hamadeh. Thank you both for your dedication and all the efforts done to organize this webinar. Inspired by our AUB mission, I would like to pose the following. Let us plant the seeds of curiosity and nurture them with knowledge so that our children may grow into leaders of tomorrow. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your continued trust and for being an integral part of this journey. Please don't hesitate to share any topics you would like us to address in future webinars. We value your input, and as always, we strongly encourage an open and positive communication between all of us. Now I'll hand it over to our moderator, Dr. Gracia.
Thank you, Yahya. Good evening, moms and dads. Where do we begin? Digital age and screen time, social media exposure and bullying, school and university admissions and expectations, work-life balance of the middle class, anger tantrums and behavior misconduct, eating disorders and health, cultural shocks of working expats. Where do we really begin? It is my real pleasure to welcome to our platform an advocate of modern parenting, Mrs. Najwa Kabbara. From earning her bachelor degree in economics at AUB to being a consultant in corporate social responsibility at the Lebanese Ministry of Economy and Trade, to holding the position of head of quality assurance of Dar Jana establishment for schools operations, Mrs. Najwa, and over a 20-year span, has nurtured her love for child development through various certifications in positive discipline, attachment science, and parent coaching. Sharpening her focus on deep family connections, Mrs. Kabbara is currently enrolled in a master's program at Warwick University, best of luck to you, revolving around the roots of neuroscience behind parent-child mental health. From knowledge to experience, I invite you all to this eye-opening discussion and how, as a parental coach, Mrs. Kabbara interprets her very own circle of trust theory amid modern-day parental challenges. The floor is yours, Najwa.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good morning for those of you who are in the States. Thank you so much for joining. It's such an honor for me to be among you, among this beautiful community here. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to President Yahya Al-Awaini and Dr. Gracia Hamadeh for their incredible support, for everything they're doing for this community. I would like to thank you for joining on time and for showing or dedicating your time to what matters the most, which is your family, your children. You know, we invest time and effort in what matters the most to us. And I believe that when we spend time in workshops or in talks like these, this shows a lot about what matters to us. The reason why I chose partnership in parenting is mainly because throughout my interactions with parents, I noticed that it's hardly ever the behavior of the child specifically that's causing the stress to parents. It's mainly a variety of factors, and many of them are related to the relationship with the co-parent, with the partner, the dynamics, whether it's the spouse, whether it's a co-parent in case of a divorce. So it's always the stress related to the dynamics of these relationships. And I found the need to talk about it, to raise more awareness, and to find a way to align different parenting styles, align different approaches for the benefit of children. At the end, what I'm advocating for here is the mental health of children, the mental well-being of the generations to come. So allow me to introduce myself to you. I know Dr. Gracia introduced me really well, and I thank her for that. But I always like to try to talk about my story and what brought me here and why am I here. You know, Dr. Gracia mentioned that I have a bachelor's in economics and a minor in finance, which are totally different from what I do right now. I'll take you through that in a while, but I have a challenge now for me to keep you engaged as much as possible till the end of this presentation, because I have a surprise for you. And I know that if along the way you guys got bored, I know that boredom is fine, because we always tell our kids that boredom is the reason behind creativity. So it's fine if we can just get to a place where we get bored. Dr. Gracia, maybe you can check the names who are joining as well. So I'll be sharing my presentation with you now. I'll be talking about myself a bit, about my story and why, what brings me here. Why am I here today, and what's the circle of trust, what the circle of trust is about. So what's my story? I'm an alumni, of course. I'm a 2003 alumni, but throughout my experience, I was always curious about child development, psychology, mental health, understanding how our behavior impacts our relationship, until one day, as I was turning 40, I was on a trip to Dubai to see my sisters. And on that trip, I decided to watch a movie. And while I was scrolling through the movies, I found a course offered by the Mind Valley Institute. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So this course was about our long-term objectives. And as I was approaching 40, you know, these questions come up. I don't know if any one of you had these questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose in life? What's my contribution to the world? And I found that course, and it was an eye-opener for me, because for the coming 3 hours, I found myself writing down my perceptions, my ideas of how I can contribute, my objectives in this world, and my target. And if you notice, these are my notes, and this is like a screenshot of my notes. And I wrote somewhere, get certified in parenting, because I wanted, and in the notes I found that I wanted to help myself as a parent, and to help other parents build stronger connections with their kids. So if I want to define myself, after this trip to Dubai, 2 months after that, I found myself enrolling in a parent coaching certification program unconsciously. I found myself searching for a program, enrolling in this program, and ever since, I have been on a quest to learn, to grow, to heal, to transform myself, my parenting, and other parents. So I look at myself and my role in circles. So the first circle is my nuclear family, my husband and my son, our 2 dogs. So our 2 dogs, if you hear any barking in the background, I promise you, I'm a parent coach, but I'm not a dog coach. So they suffer from social anxiety and huge disciplinary issues. So they might have some tantrums in the background, but so we have, this is our small family. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister of 2 beautiful girls. I'm also an aunt to my 2 nieces and nephew. I'm a friend to those beautiful friends who became family. I'm a parent coach and the founder of the Circle of Trust, which is my purpose in life. And the Circle of Trust here, my motto or my purpose is to change one family at a time. And I've written that goal in every single journal I have, morning intention I have, one parent, at least one parent, and I've been working on that ever since. So I'm hoping through our time today together to achieve some understanding on the different parenting styles. I have divided the presentation into 5 main ideas, 5 big ideas around partnership and parenting, to help us understand more the dynamics of this relationship and to understand each other more. You see, we're social beings, so we are wired to live in a community and a tribe. And many of us, due to different circumstances, we move away from this tribe, we move away from this community, and we live abroad. And the only relationship, or the main relationship we rely on, is usually the partner or the co-parent. And this is why this relationship is very important, especially for us who are living abroad, especially when we need the support, when we need the alignment, and when we need to raise these kids in the best possible way. So let's move with our first activity for today. I'll try my best to keep it engaging. I know you guys have your cameras off. Most of you have your cameras off, but I'll try my best to just have some engagement here. So I invite you, in the spirit of celebrating who we are as parents, I invite you to think of two strengths you have and two strengths your co-parent has. So what kind of strengths do you have? And because I have noticed that as parents, we always tend to look at what's not working, what we're not doing. We criticize ourselves. We live in shame and guilt many times because of the things that we did not do or we failed to do. So let's celebrate who we are as parents. Let's celebrate our strength today at the beginning. Let's celebrate each other. So I would love to hear from you. If you are to think about two strengths you have as parents, two things you would like to celebrate of you being a parent, what could those be? Yes, yes, please, Mrs. Nabila.
Yeah.
Dr.
Well,
Gracia.
you are making me rethink again of my experience when Gracia was in her med school,
Mhm.
and uh, one of the strengths I guess I had is to try to keep her moving forward, because medical school is a long journey. So
Yeah.
I guess I had the ability to keep on supporting her emotionally, mainly, and helping her to move forward. And one of my second strength, uh, as Gracia joined AUB, I also joined AUB to have my master's. So,
Wow.
kind of giving her an example of giving her and her sisters an example of being strong, having some perseverance, achieve your goal. So yeah, I guess this is what I was able to show my children during their high school education, their higher education years.
This is beautiful. I'm sure they
Thank
appreciate
you.
it much. Thank you, Mrs. Nabila.
Mhm.
Anyone else would like to share? Yes, Lara.
Merci, Najwa. Bonjour, everybody. It's morning in Los Angeles. On my end is patience and loving. I think the patience is something I overlook that I have. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lara, for
You.
sharing. Thank Dr. Gracia, can you see the names because it's not full here. You're on mute. I
All
think
right.
Rayan.
So Lara, do you have anything else to add from your parenting strengths?
I said loving and patience. I thought resilience and
Yes.
patience. But I remembered what Jad always tells me. Mom, you love me with grace. You love me gracefully.
Mm,
So I remembered what he says because I think we tend not to hear our kids, even when they criticize us. This is something
Yeah.
important to
to
remember. It's a
attend to.
message from them. Yeah. And I can't wait to hear more about it, Najwa.
We will definitely hear more about it. Rayan, I think we have one more from the audience. Rayan would like to share her Rayan, can you hear us?
Yes, hi. This is
Oh,
Rayan speaking. I'm in Riyadh now. So, hi to everyone and hi to everyone from the
hello.
world.
Hello, Ryan.
Um, can you hear me?
Yes,
We can
perfect.
hear you clearly.
Yes.
So,
All right.
what
So,
are your
I was
parenting
saying,
strengths?
yes, I was trying to greet everyone and to thank Najwa and Gracia and everyone, and especially Mr. Yahya, for this lovely community as well. Basically, the strength that I realized over the years, I have two daughters, which is one is almost 8 years and the other is almost 5 years. Patience and empowering them and to raise their confidence and being patient towards their tantrum, towards the challenges in lives nowadays, how the screen times they are going ups and downs with all the world's challenges that we're going through. So yes, empowering them and trying to making them to feel confidence towards themselves and towards others, and to give them the authority or the responsibility to take care of each other, and in front of the people to ask and request to whatever they want. This is what I feel. This is my strength, and as well for raising their confidence and being patient towards their tough times.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gracia, can you see anyone? Azmi?
Yes, we have
Azmi is my
Azmi, I
husband.
think. To those who don't know, Azmi is Najwa's husband.
My
So go
husband.
ahead. The floor is yours.
No, I didn't raise the hand. It's actually one of Kamal's friend who pressed the screen, so apologies for that.
You
No
don't want to share
problem.
any strength?
We have another parent, Dr. Bahia. Dr. Bahia, excuse me. She's a pediatrician and her husband is a urologist in Riyadh. Bahia, nice to have you with us. Please share with us your
Thank
insights.
thank you for this lecture or webinar. I love the topic. It's very interesting. I think I'm the one in the parent couple who put the boundaries, and my partner is the fun part, and that's driving me crazy.
I'll
Actually, I
talk
want
about
to.
it. I'll talk about it.
Okay, I'm waiting for this part. I'm the one who put boundaries, rules, house rules, school rules, everything, and he's the fun part, creative part, the favorite parent, I think. But I think we need to change this because my the eldest is going 10, 11, and I think this is a very good time to start having good communication with her.
I feel you. I
Absolutely.
feel you dearly. Okay. Anyone
Would
else?
anybody else would anybody else like to share his or her insight, strengths you find yourselves having as a parent, whether you are a young parent, whether you are a grandparent? We didn't mention grandparents because sometimes grandparents are the real parents. I don't see any hands raised at the moment, so maybe Najwa, you can. Oh, we have Hania. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Hania. Hi, Hania.
Yes, hi,
Hello,
good
we can
evening.
hear
How are
you.
you, everyone?
Good evening.
Good evening. I just want to say one thing. I just joined lately, so I'm not sure if I'm talking right, but I mean, I think kindness towards your children is also important, other than love and patience. Kindness, also being kind to your children is important. I mean, it's love them, respect them. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Hania.
We have one more, Sarah. Go ahead.
Hi everyone. أول شيء Gracia, thank you so much for being a moderator, and Najwa Kabbara عن جد, also thank you for organizing this, and Yahya, of course, thank you. One of the I think one of the strengths that Yahya and I both share is the fact that we're both very patient with our son Adam, but at the same time, I think we set some rules. So I think, yeah, so that's it from my side.
Combination of kindness and firmness.
Yes, so we try as much as we can to set some rules, but I think Adam now is going through like this stage of rebellion, being a rebel. So we're trying as much as we can to set some rules in the house,
Okay.
but
Thank you so
both
much.
of us being aligned on it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you all for your engagement. It's a good exercise to have this at home, to just try to talk to each other or reflect on that, reflect on your parenting strengths as a couple, and try to know and to appreciate that in each other. You see, when we are in any relationship, what we're actually looking for at any point in time is this sense of significance and belonging, this sense of being appreciated, heard, seen, understood, supported. So it's always good to have this culture of appreciating each other, of celebrating these strengths in each other. So I would like to move to the first big idea here. Okay. I am not responsible for my spouse's parenting style. And why am I saying that? The first thing I've noticed is in so many instances, what we do is we focus on what the other parent is not doing, what the other parent is falling short of, what the other parent is doing. So, and we forget, in this case, what we do is we build some resentment, we build some internal stress, internal anger, and then we end up not showing up for our kids the way we want to show up. Something I've learned in relationships, and honestly, trust me, I have tried to control my husband, to control my child. I have been there, and I realized with time that the only thing I can control is myself, my reactions, my behaviors, my mindset, my thoughts. I cannot control my husband. I cannot control my child. I cannot control my in-laws. I cannot control my parents. I cannot control people. The only person I can control and manage is me. I might have influence over others, and that we will talk about, but I cannot control them. And this is very important to know. So when we are navigating this partnership in parenting, I need to understand that it's not my job to be responsible for how my husband shows up. I just wanted to tell you that we will be taking the questions by the end of each big idea. So please, if you have any question, you can just write it down in the chat, or we can just answer it by the end of each section. Okay. So I want to reassure you that, and I know that many of us like feel exhausted, drained from how the other partner or the co-parent is showing up in many instances. And this is why I always back up my words with science, with scientific evidence. And what science says here, what research actually says, is that the longitudinal, the research on child development clearly demonstrates that one of the very best predictors for how any child turns out in terms of happiness, in terms of social and emotional development, leadership skills, meaningful relationships, and even academic and career success is whether they developed security from having at least one person, and I underline at least one person, who showed up for them. What does this mean? I'm familiar with Dan Siegel and the work of Dan Siegel. Dan Siegel is a famous neuroscientist. He wrote the Whole Brain Child and the Power of Showing Up, and he talked a lot about the science of attachment. And what he's saying here, in other words, is that when I, as the parent, I'm able to build a secure attachment with my child, this is enough for them. This is a good predictor for how my child will show up in the world, how he or she will be at home within themselves and within the world. So it's very important to focus on my parenting, how we show up for our kids. the level of security we give them, how we make them feel seen, soothed, secure, safe. This is very important. And this does not mean that some conversations should not be had. So does not mean that we should not align our parenting styles and we should not talk about how we raise our kids or the values that we share as co-parents. But this is to tell you that it's very important to focus at the beginning with ourselves, with how we show up. Okay? So let's explore more how parenting styles look like in real life. Okay, we all fluctuate. So we can move from rigidity to chaos, somewhere in between. Sometimes we're exhausted, we find ourselves being helpless, permissive, and other times we're rigid, we're firm, we're strict. But most of us fall under these patterns, okay? And I'd like to divide them into some main categories. So what we see is, in most parents, we see the authoritarian, power over kind of parenting. In this kind of parenting paradigm, what happens is that it's the mindset of it's my way or the highway. I put the rules, and there's little or no regard to how the child feels, to their needs, to their thoughts. It's usually a strict parenting style with very high expectations. The type of disciplinary measures that parents take in this parenting style is usually punishments, threats, blaming, criticizing, and when love is extended to the child, it's usually conditional of performance, of behavior. So when the child behaves well, I'm happy, I'm loving, and when the child misbehaves, I withdraw my love, and it's somehow conditional. What I've noticed with parents here is that mainly this parenting style, many of us were raised in houses where this parenting style was prevailing, but at the same time, what I noticed is the struggle with kids happens in teenage years, because children at this age become rebellious. They want to test the boundaries. They want to say no. They want to express themselves. So this is when the parents struggle deeply, because for the longest time they're controlling, they're managing the behavior, they're controlling the behavior, but then they get to a place where this is no longer possible when the child is bigger and is vocal about his or her needs. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what we see is the permissive kind. The permissive is when the parent is overwhelmed by the child's behavior, so they just give in, whatever you want. The child is usually the one putting the rules here. There's some confusion around boundaries, some confusion about values, and it's much easier for the parent to just give in than to listen to the whining or to the crying or to the tantrums. It's just easier because it's emotionally very heavy on the parent to deal with that. In this kind of parenting, what happens is there's some chaos, some confusion from the child. There might be some independence somehow, but at the same time, the child does not have boundaries, and this is something that the child needs to thrive. So children need boundaries to grow. They need discipline. They need rules and routines. So this happens also on the other side of the spectrum. There's also the uninvolved type of parenting. Parenting is a big responsibility for me. I just cannot deal with it. It's a big burden, and I just run away from it. I just tend to not to be there. I cannot be physically, emotionally present with my child, so I just leave physically or leave emotionally. What I do with parents, what we work on together, is what I call the parent or the power with parenting. It's the authoritative parenting. What does this mean? In this parenting paradigm, what we work on is a balance between kindness and firmness, between teaching the child life skills as opposed to parenting with threats and fear. It's teaching intrinsic motivation and respecting the child. So that in this parenting style, there's a lot of empathy, a lot of understanding, and at the same time, expectations and boundaries. So it's both. It's the and kind and firm. It's both. And this is what we hope that parents work on together. This is how we can align our parenting styles to get to a place where we're able to get to a place where no parent would say I'm the mean one and no parents would be the fun one, where we are both working together. We can both align our boundaries, we can both align our values, and at the same time feel good about ourselves, feel good on the inside, and be able to extend that goodness, that empathy towards our kids. So I have included a link for you to find out. I don't know if you can share with me which parenting style did you find yourself most falling under. I have shared a link with questions so that you understand, or so you know more about your own parenting style. You can, we will be sharing it by the end of this presentation by email if you registered through email. And I would like you to reflect on that. How were you parented? What kind of things you want to keep in your parenting style? What kind of things you would like to let go of? How can you work together as co-parents to align these parenting styles? What are the big no's for you? So these are questions, reflective questions that I would like you to think about. And if you would like to share, I'll be more than happy to listen. Anyone would like to share?
Yeah, so we'll see who would like to share his parenting or her parenting style. Mom, go ahead.
I'll share. I'll start. I know it's
Or Lara, go ahead.
yeah.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
lean between two kinds, to be honest. I feel like I can be on the not the authoritarian, the authoritative, the mix, but I also have a little bit of permissive, you know. And I think because I'm a single parent, although we co-parent well, we have respect, but I find that maybe like the guilt sometimes. So that part, but I lean toward more balance because I try to be aware. But nobody's perfect. Yeah. Hopefully that will encourage others to share. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lara. Thank you for sharing. Mrs. Nabila.
Yes, hi. Would you mind if I keep my camera off?
Of course.
But
Oh,
okay, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. All right, before sharing my type of parenting style, I would like just to reinforce what Mrs. Najwa just said, that creating a structure for a child gives him security. By structure, I mean routine. By structure, I mean some rules, basic rules. I'm not talking about the rule that is set in stone, no. But it's a rule to give him context, to give him security. So the child feels safe, like routines every day. And one golden rule, to have the child remember that mom or dad is the boss. What do I mean by it? It might sound a bit harsh, but when you are asking your child, let's say, to help you in a task, in a home task or in a chore, be consistent. Like, give him a choice. Be consistent with what you are asking your child to do. Consistency, security are very important with the child. So now you can guess what my parenting style look like. I got a balance between being not strict, but setting a structure, and at the same time giving them a choice and permitting what is within like a healthy context, because at the end we want them to lead a healthy and a happy emotional we are looking after their emotional well-being. So yeah, I hope I was clear with what I've just explained.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mrs. Nabila. Dr. Bahia.
After what you described, and I think I'm authoritative, and
I think it's a strength and a weakness at the same time, because I'm aware when I'm authoritative that I am, and I handle it quickly, but then I'm back to putting rules strongly, showing kindness when they behave well. That's what I'm trying to work out, practicing. But the thing that I'm aware of it, I'm happy that I'm aware, but something I can't change about, because my parent skill was authoritative, and I'm just doing it with my children, but I'm aware that I'm doing it. I don't know if you got me.
Yes, yes, of course, Dr. Bahia. This is what happens. Usually, we tend to repeat the same pattern, or we go the complete opposite if we felt that we were not treated well. So it's either we repeat the same pattern, or we go to complete opposite until we have awareness to choose whatever is convenient from us and to let go of whatever was not convenient. So you're absolutely right. And this is a question that I invite you to explore at home. Maybe you can check the link, you can just look at the questions and try to reflect on your parenting and see what you're willing to let go of, what you're willing to keep. It's important for me to mention here that it's not the differences in parenting styles between co-parents that make the problem, that create the negative impact on kids. It's the constant criticism in front of the kids. It's the constant fighting or arguing in front of them. And when we don't display healthy ways of communication, this is what creates the big impact. And this is what science is saying, and this is what the research is saying. So I would like to move to our next big idea here. And this is not only between co-parents, this is for our kids as well. Our reactions, however we react, and their behaviors, no matter what the behavior is only the tip of the iceberg. And why am I saying this? Because sometimes we go into judging the behavior, judging the reaction, our reaction or our partner's reaction, or even our kids' reactions. And we forget that what we're seeing is just the surface. What we're seeing in terms of tantrums, criticism, defensiveness, silent treatment, words, back-talking, all these, what we're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. But underneath this iceberg, what's under this iceberg is a whole world of emotions, unmet needs, developmental ages and stages, attachment styles or patterns between us and our kids, history, traumas. So under this iceberg is a whole world. And if we do not meet it with curiosity, if we do not put on our investigators' glasses and try to understand what's happening in this world, we will always end up reacting. We will always end up in a place full of reactivity, yelling, threatening, punishing, and all sorts of things. So it's much different when we approach the behavior, the reaction with curiosity. And I'll show you an example, a concrete example. How does this look like in real life? So we have these two co-parents. The wife comes and tells her husband or co-parent, you never help me in anything. You're always sitting on the couch while I have to do everything. How many of you said that at a point in time? Okay, and the other and the partner would say on the other side, or think at least if he doesn't say it, whatever I do is never enough. So let's look at this example, this concrete example in real life. So a perception with reactivity would be like that. What the husband is perceiving is that she's negative, she keeps criticizing me, whatever I do is not enough for her. And then we end up with a battle of who's more tired. I'm more tired than you, no, you're more tired than me. Whereas a perception with curiosity would look like, she's angry, I can see that. Where's this coming from? Did she have a bad day with the kids? Is she feeling lonely? Does she need support? Maybe I could just reflect on my support. How am I supporting her? So this is the difference here. And this happens with couples, with children, in any relationship. It doesn't have to do with couples only. But these thoughts, this reactivity implicate or will impact our actions. So a person who will think with reactivity would act in a way, okay, I'm not moving from the couch, تصطفل, right? Like this kind of thinking, I'm not changing, let her deal with it, I'm sitting and I'm even more tired than her. A person who's acting with curiosity will try to connect with his or her partner and would try to find ways, okay, both of us are tired here. How can we support each other? How can I help you here? How can you help me here? Okay? The same goes for the wife. When I'm talking about communication with reactivity, it would be me just jumping into my default pattern, which is criticism, control, I blame. You always do this, you never do that. Whereas if I want to model healthy communication, or if I want to have a healthy communication, or to at least to be effective in my communication, to get good results, I cannot invite defensiveness from the other person. So what I do is I choose I statements. So I take ownership for my feelings, my needs, and I ask what I want in specific terms. So it would look like that. I feel tired today. I had a long day with the kids, and I can just talk about that. I need support. How can you help me? How can we work together? Can you be in charge of a bath time? Can you be in charge of bedtime? Can you come home earlier if he was at work or she was at work? So we try to have or to model healthy communication, what we call non-violent communication. It's usually using I statements. I own my feelings. I own my needs. I express them, even if my feelings inconvenience the other person. Because when you are in a relationship, whether it's a co-parenting relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a parenting relationship, we inconvenience each other, and it's normal. I'm not responsible of what the other person is feeling about it. But when we are in a relationship, we are supposed to support each other. Okay? And this brings me to brain science. And this explains a lot of our behaviors, a lot of our kids' behaviors. It all goes down to our nervous system and our ability to regulate it. Any one of you, I'm going to put a poll here. Any one of you is a healthcare practitioner, mental health practitioner? Do you see the poll?
Najwa, we have a couple of physicians with us.
Yeah.
If you'd allow me to take the feedback of a very good friend of mine. We went back together at med school, Rayan. If you can hear me, please. Rayan's joining us from California, so same time zone like Lara. Rayan is a gynecologist and obstetrician with a wonderful wife and baby boy. So he had to raise his child during his fellowship and then during his clinical and admin work. So Rayan, if you can hear us, please, if you can share with us your
Hi,
insight. Good to see you, my
everyone.
friend.
Good
Hello.
morning. It's 9:16 over here. Thank
Good
you so
morning,
much
Rayan. Good
for the
morning.
intro. Excuse me, it's a Saturday. I'm not مش مظبط حالي كتير. So yeah, what was the question/contribution
And I was asking if
about
anyone is
this
mental health
particular?
I will
or
make it
healthcare
easier for you so Najwa
professional.
can go on with her presentation.
Yeah, go for
So,
it.
do you believe that parenting techniques have their roots in our nervous system? That's the question.
I believe that this picture that you guys are seeing right now is a very accurate depiction of early parenting technique and how it's evolved for me, at least. The reactivity was very high early on, and over time, when you start realizing what matters and the fact that it's not about you, it's about being curious again, because none of it is personal, for me at least. So I try to control my limbic system as much as I can, because it's purely emotional. And so when you go to that phase, the outcomes of communication and collaboration are poor, when you're basing it off of the emotional limbic system, which is the flight or fight kind of approach, versus cortex is more like thought-based, curiosity-based, and it allows for so much more grace in relationships, which helps the relationship grow and flourish. And so you get to experience more of the submerged portion of the iceberg.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rayan. It's not doing well to my anxiety right now that we have mental health professionals. I usually tend to convince myself that
I'm a gynecologist. I'm a gynecologist.
Or healthcare professionals. So I'll talk to you now more about how the brain works. And why am I doing that? Because this explains a lot of our behavior and our reactivity, as Dr. Rayan. It explains a lot of our children's reactivity as well. So as you see in front of you, this is a model of the brain, a simplistic model of the brain that Dr. Dan Siegel talked about. It's called the hand model of the brain, or the palm in the hand. So it's what the brain model says is that we have, if you want to just describe it as like 3 parts of the brain, main parts that we will be talking about now. It's the first part is the brain stem, in charge of these functions like breathing, the functions that we don't talk about, the breathing, the heart regulation of heartbeats, the eyelids movement. So the things that we don't think about. And then here inside the palm of the hand is the limbic system, the amygdala, the fear center, the emotions, the memories. So in this part, we have what we call the emotional brain, or the primitive brain. In old days, in the caveman days, what happened is that to preserve or to stay alive, what the caveman used to do when a lion was attacking him was mainly to fight the danger, to run to the danger and fight it, or run away from the freeze and just like stand still and just not move. And this is what we call the primitive brain. And here, when we close this lid, we have the prefrontal cortex, or the thinking brain. And this part of the brain is in charge of our logical thinking, our problem solving, our creativity, our empathy, our curiosity. So what happens is, and I'll just ask you all, what do you think the main function of the brain is? Do you want me to put it on a poll, or you can just answer? What do you think the main function of the brain is? Is it to keep us happy? Is it to keep us safe? What do you think is the main function of the brain?
Keep us alive.
To keep us alive. Exactly. So the brain is constantly, through neuroception, scanning our environment to see any sign of threat or the lack of. So in order to keep us alive, our brain is detecting through our senses, through our environment, if there are any signs of safety or lack of it, and in order to initiate a stress response or a survival response to keep us safe. Yes, any questions?
Actually, it's not a question. May I be allowed to a comment?
Of course.
When your environment is just, it's not anymore stress-free, your brain is blocked, not able even to think anymore, right? Do you agree?
When our environment is stress-free?
It's not stress-free, of course. It's full of stress.
Yes,
so your brain is blocked. It's not anymore able to detect any sign of negativity or even positivity. It stops thinking.
I'll take you through that now. So you have a point. What happens is that when our brain is always scanning our environment for signs of safety or lack of safety, there are 2 routes here. So the brain sends this message or these messages to the frontal lobes, which are which is the part of our brain, the conscious, rational part of our brain, and to the amygdala. The amygdala and the hippocampus, which is the part of our brain responsible for our memories, and the implicit memories, these two, they work very fast. Why? Because if we are to protect ourselves, if our brain wants to protect us, what happens is that we need speed. We need a quick reaction to protect. If there's a car that's going to bump us, we need to pull the brakes. We need speed. We need a quick action. So this route, the amygdala and the hippocampus, is very fast. And what happens is that they work together to understand this signal, to understand these signs, and to decide whether or not this is a threat. Okay, so if there's a lion, the amygdala would think, okay, this is a lion, it's a threat. Let's send our signals, let's send our commands for cortisol, adrenaline to move for that the person so that the person can fight the danger, run away from the danger, or just freeze. And this is a normal response when there's a real threat. What happens is, based on our memories, based on what we've been through, based on our traumas, our experiences, sometimes our amygdala interprets a threat when there's no threat. Okay, so a simple example of our child not wanting to brush his teeth would trigger an emotional response from us, would trigger a fight or flight response from us, and our brain would perceive that as a real threat, whereas it's not a real threat. It's a perceived threat based on probably how our window of tolerance works. Maybe we're just tired, we're sleepy, we had a long day, or maybe we had a similar experience when we were growing up, where maybe when we used to say no, we used to be punished. Maybe so it could be multiple, so many reasons for that. But basically, what I want you to understand here, and it's very important, that sometimes our brain perceives the reactions or the words or the behavior of our child or our husband, our co-parent, in ways that are not exactly what it is. So sometimes we perceive them as threats and we initiate a response. And how does this look like in parenting? If we are to talk about it in real life, so when we find ourselves threatening, punishing, getting reactive, yelling, giving the silent treatment, judging, criticizing, scolding, avoiding and running away, self-judging or criticizing ourselves, when we find ourselves in this situation of reactivity, we need to know that this is survival response. It's not our thinking brain that's working. So when we flip our lid, what Dan Siegel says about this, if this is the brain and this is where our thinking brain is working, and when we are triggered, we flip the lid, and what's exposed here, what's working here, is our emotional brain, our reactive brain. And that there's no thinking in this place, there's no reasoning, there's no logical interpretation to things, there's no empathy or curiosity. So when our kids are misbehaving, let's say, or misbehaving, what happens is that we get reactive, we get triggered, and we're there. The emotional brain is exposed, and our kids are there, and this is where conflict happens. What we need to do in any situation, we need to bring back the thinking brain, we bring back the awareness, the consciousness to our actions, so that we attend to the situation. And another thing that I need you to know here is that the brain of our kids is not developed. So this part of the brain, this thinking, logical brain, impulse control part, curiosity, is not developed. It starts developing at the age of 7. It matures by the age of 25. So many times we have these expectations on our kids that they are going to manage their emotions, they're going to think logically, that they're going to find the right solutions. I told him a million times, or how come he doesn't know it? Many times we punish, we shame the child for actions or for behaviors that are not within their development, that are not within their the development of their brain. It's not within their capacity. It's as if you're asking someone who doesn't know how to drive, you're asking them not to have an accident, and when they have an accident, you're punishing them for that accident. So it's very important to know that when we want to work on our reactivity, we need to start looking at our triggers and understanding where these triggers are coming from, and knowing that it's usually when we model a certain behavior, when we model a certain pattern in our parenting, our kids will respond to that. So if yelling is a pattern I'm modeling, if yelling is a pattern that we both model as a couple, then our kids will catch on to that, because they have mirror neurons that they will look at our behaviors. No matter what we say, no matter what we tell them, if we keep telling them, no, don't yell, if we keep telling them, don't do that, and they see us doing it, they will model it, they will learn from us. So it's important to know that in order to deal with our reactivity, we need to understand more. We need to bring consciousness more to our actions. We need to understand our thinking, our experiences, our implicit memories, our unprocessed traumas, and we need to work also on our in the moment real-time tools to develop self-regulation. So we work on two things here. What I do with parents is we work on real-time tools. So in the moment, how can I catch myself? How can I, in a few seconds, how can I self-regulate so that I bring back this thinking brain? How many of you reacted to something and then thought to themselves at the end of the day, why did I do that? Why did I say what I said? Why did I react this way? It wasn't worth it. It didn't require that big reaction. It's just because we're here. We react from here. Our words come from a place of unconsciousness. It's not a place of calm and self-regulation. And do you have any questions here? Do you have any inquiries, comments? You're all here with me. You can, yes, Mrs. Nabila. The most active
if I'm
member.
talking too much, if I'm talking too much, I'll stop talking.
No, I'm happy with that, because you're active. You're keeping the conversation going. I don't like to be the only one talking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mom and a grandma, and I'm an early childhood educator. So this topic is really a hot topic for me, and I love just sharing what I've passed through. I think, adding to being a role model, I think the concept of trust is very important, because once your child or your student or whoever, like a child you're dealing with, trusts you, believe me, his attitude will change, his character will change. So that's why, in addition to being a role model to your child, like, we also try to strengthen this bond of trust, and make sure that he comes to you or she comes to you when they need you. And another thing, trying to help your child become independent. Like, do not do for your child what he can do for himself or herself, is also really, really, really important. Because once they feel independent, they have confidence in themselves, they will rely on you just for minor support, but they will feel proud. And that feeling of pride also will strengthen that trust bond between you and your child. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Any other questions or comments? Okay, now let me move to the fourth big idea here, and it's a deeper idea. We're digging deeper here. We're trying to understand our triggers more here. We're trying to know this hippocampus, when the hippocampus works with the amygdala to decode this the signals. What are they actually doing here? What kind of memories are available? What kind of unprocessed memories are there? So I have come across this beautiful interpretation of our fights as couples, from an expert in couple therapy. So what they said is a part of you, the inner child, is triggering a part of them, their inner child. And this is very deep in so many ways, because what we learn about brain science, about the development of children, is that as children grow, what if the brain's main function is to keep us alive, then the first thing that we need to do as kids, as children, as babies, is to preserve our attachment with our caregivers, with our parents. The only source of survival for us at that time. So when we're kids, when we're babies, we survive through our attachment with our caregivers. They're the ones who are feeding us. They're the ones who are taking care of us. We cannot speak. We cannot take care of ourselves. So what we do is we are constantly looking for what keeps this attachment safe, because we want to stay alive. We want to survive in this place, in this world. So kids and us as kids, what we do is we look for cues and lack of cues of safety within our relationship with our attachment figures, with our parents. And as we grow, we start doing more of what keeps this attachment alive, or doing more of what keeps this attachment safe, and we lose a lot of our authenticity along the way. So if this attachment figure is angry at us for certain things, we start doing them to preserve this attachment. We start building protective parts in our system to protect ourselves from their reactions, from the yelling, the criticism, the shaming, or the distance, or the avoidance that we receive from our parents. So parts of us, protective parts of us, are building up as we grow, and we also build beliefs about ourselves, beliefs about who we are in this world, what relationships are in this world. So I am worthy of being loved unconditionally. Do I need to be perfect to be loved? Do I need to not do mistakes to be loved? I start wondering, and kids at an early age cannot self-reflect. So as a child, I would not be thinking, oh, today my mom is having a hard time. Today my dad is tired. They're dealing with lots of uncertainties, difficulties, financial burdens. They don't do that. Kids cannot self-reflect, cannot understand the behavior of parents. They do that through their own, they look at themselves and they either self-blame or they self-doubt, and they start building beliefs about themselves around that. So we grow up with these protective parts with us. So the perfectionism, the procrastination, the control. So I was growing up in an environment where there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of uncertainty. I built a coping mechanism, a protective part to protect me from this uncertainty, and I try to control everyone and everything and every situation. So these parts that show up in our relationships, these are what we call the inner child, the inner wounds, and these parts came for a reason: to protect us from an emotionally unavailable parent, to protect us from a highly critical parent, to protect us from an explosive or emotionally immature parent, to protect us from a micromanaging parent, a narcissistic parent, an anxious parent. And this is not to say in any way that our parents did not try their best with the resources they had in that at that place, at that moment, to be the best they can be. But this is to explain ourselves, why we act in certain ways, what's the impact of our upbringing in the way we parent today. And when we make sense of this narrative, when we make sense of this, of these parts, when we acknowledge their existence, eventually, little by little, we thank them and we just let go of them and we go back to our core. So there's this very nice theory on internal family systems in psychology that talks about how we as human beings, we're born with ultimate goodness. There's no child in this world who's born with meanness or with the lack of goodness. We're all born with ultimate goodness, with curiosity, with calmness, with compassionate with being compassionate, with courage, with confidence, with creativity. So we're born with ultimate goodness. But what happens is that circumstances, what we deal with throughout our upbringing, we start building protective parts. We start adapting to survive in our environment. And then when we're 40, like me, or any age, we start looking back and understanding and creating a narrative, a coherent narrative of what happened with us. Okay, this happened with me. This is how I reacted to it. This is what I created alongside with it. And I can thank this part in me. I'm no longer the terrified 6-year-old person. I'm no longer the shamed 7-year-old girl. I am 40. I take responsibility for who I am right now. I'm ready to let go of these parts, and I'm ready to reparent myself, to give myself what I needed, to be the parent I wanted to have in order to move on, in order to build healthy relationships, in order to build a healthy connection with my children, secure attachment with my children. So if I want to ask you here, based on what I'm saying right now, if you are to reflect on your upbringing, if you are to think about your own protective parts, can you name any? I'm going to launch a poll here. So if you see it, do you see it? Okay. So I would like to invite you all to look at these and to name your protective part. It could be one, it could be many, but just like the most dominant one. Is it perfectionism? Is it procrastination, people pleasing, judgment, inner critic, control, over planning, addictions, binge eating, overspending? So what kind of protective parts have you built?
Najwa,
As you
can you reshare the poll? I am not able to see it.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
Okay. I think you can see it because it's live and many are answering. Let me see. I cannot reshare it, but can you see it maybe if you open the... maybe you see it now?
Press. I cannot.
Oh, it's weird. Do you all see it, or
It's under
Najwa,
activities.
Najwa, if you like, we can just we can just share the insights of your poll by just direct Q&A. So whoever has something to say, we'll just proceed for the sake of time.
From your mobile phone, open activities and click on poll. That's how you see it if you're on your mobile.
So I've seen someone say that's like perfectionism. Another one answered inner critic, people pleasing. Binge eating.
Right. So if someone else has, to share your poll, just say it to us out loud, just for the sake of time.
People pleasing. So as you see, we start acknowledging these parts. We start bringing awareness to them. And eventually, we heal the wounds, we heal the inner child, and we reparent ourselves so that we show up in a more safe way within ourselves and within our relationships. Over planning, overspending, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll now. We can move on with our next big idea, the final one. I'm going to leave you with this one because I always try to bring hope. So we can always change our ways. We can always change our patterns, no matter what the dynamics are at home, no matter where we are in our journey with our kids, with our spouses. Of course, if there are no like severe or extreme problems or challenges, but we can always work on ourselves. And this is not from me. This is how the brain works. The brain is always able to learn, to rewire, to it's neuroplastic. It's when I teach kids in my kids coaching, I tell them the brain is elastic, fantastic. So the brain is always ready to change, to build new pathways, and we are exactly, neuroplasticity is real, and we are able, and I've tried it with myself. I've seen the impact. At the age of 40, I was able to transform my thinking, my mindset, to shift it to a new place, and this has impacted not only my relationship with my child, it has impacted my relationship with my husband and my relationship with myself and others. So I always come from this place of hope. If we are able to be aware or catch our thoughts, we're able to change our reality. And why is that? Because we have 5 factors that determine our life. So it's the thoughts, the moods, the behaviors, the physical reactions, and the environment. If we change the thought, we're able to change the mood. And if we change the mood or the feelings associated with it, we're able to change the behaviors. And if we change the behaviors, we're able to change the physical reactions. And from that, we're able to change our reality, our environment. So it's very important. And this is why I said in big idea number 5, it starts with a thought. It's the thought that counts. It starts with a thought. So when we try to be aware of these thoughts, you know that our brain on a daily basis, we have thousands of thoughts. Some say 60,000, some say less, some say more, but we have so many thoughts. And a very big, the majority of these, let's say, are negative thoughts. And 75% of our thoughts are repetitive, so they keep repeating themselves. So it's important to understand that when we are aware, when we bring awareness to these thoughts, we're able to change our reality, our emotions, the whole spectrum, the whole cycle. Okay, and I'll give you a live example because I like these examples to come into life and to see how this looks like in real life. So Samer and Lara, these are like 2 fictional characters. They had an argument over allowing their youngest child to eat more candy. So usually, who do you think is the one who's allowing? Who do you think is the one who allowed the candy eating?
The dad.
Of course.
أكيد الربع.
Okay, so it's Samer. Samer who allowed the candy eating. So basically, Lara was busy with home learning with her eldest son, and then the youngest one, asked for candy. Samer gave the candy, and Lara was furious, and they ended up having a big argument over that. So let's just try to understand more. And this is an exercise I teach parents in parent coaching. What we work on is that we track our reactivity. So in a moment of dysregulation, we yell, we criticize, we go into our default patterns. But when we're calm, we can reflect on that. And this is how we change the brain. So I think about what happened, how I felt, the thoughts that are associated with these feelings, and how I can change that eventually. So what can I do next time if this happens? So let's look at Lara's mood. Lara came, she saw her son eating candy, she was angry, she was resentful towards Samer. She had these kind of thoughts in the back of her unconscious thoughts in the back of her mind. He never supports me. He always lets the kids eat or do whatever they want. I'm always the mean one. Dr. Bahia, are you there with us? Because this example, I think, is very valid in your case. So our kids will be confused, they will be spoiled because they will not know, they will always go to him if they want anything, and I'm all alone in this. This is the kind of negative, automatic negative thoughts, what I call in my kids coaching ants. Automatic negative thoughts. They're always in the background. We're not aware of them, but they're always there, and they are the ones who are allowing this, the emotions and the reactions that we have. So on the other side, Samer, when his wife was angry, he was hurt, he was angry, he was sad, and he started having the thought as well that she never cares about my opinion. We always do what she wants us to do. She has to be in control. She always wants to be in control. I would rather be numb and not feel this hurt inside of me. I hate being this angry. So these are the kind of thinking or patterns that happen inside of us. in the back of our brain unconsciously. So how can we bring awareness to these thoughts? How can we recognize that this is actually an automatic negative thought, and how can we transform it into a pet, which is a positive, empowering thought? Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to do what serves the relationship, what serves us. So we want to rewire the brain. We want to think about, rewire these thoughts, bring awareness to them to be able to find the right thing. And they're not opposite. So it's not, an ant is not the opposite of a pet, but the pet is something that can serve us more. It's something that we can that can be positive to the relationship or to the interaction that we're having. So when we find ourselves ignoring the good, so I'm paying attention to the bad things, to the things that are not going well, this is an ant. When I find myself focusing on the negative traits of someone, so he always does this, like he never helps, he doesn't give me support, so it's always, usually it's an ant. Should statements, when I have in my mind an idea of how things should be, and I'm very rigid on it, this has to be this way. When I generalize, when I use words like, he always does this, he never does that, these are also ants. When I believe that I know and how someone is thinking, whereas in reality, I don't. When I know what will happen and I can predict the future and this will cause that, and I look into the future and as if I'm fortune telling, this is also an ant. When I make a really big deal out of something that's not even worth it, it's also an ant. So when we recognize these ants, when we bring them to our attention, become aware of them, we catch them. And this is an exercise that we can teach our kids as well. We catch the ants, we start tracking them, we catch them, and then we look for evidence that support them. Is this true? How true is this? How true is it that he doesn't support you at all? How true is it that he's doing that or she's doing this? And then we also challenge them by finding evidence that do not support them. And then we replace them with pets, which are alternatives that are more balanced, that are more helpful to us, and that can serve the relationship in a better way. Okay? So I managed to keep you till the end of the talk. I'm going to announce today to this incredible community here, I'm going to announce my workshop, my upcoming workshop on Together We Raise Partnership in Parenting. And this is basically how it will look like. It's how we can create our home based on values, a home based on goals and a vision, a clear vision of what we want to have 25 years down the road. What are we achieving here? What kind of individuals are we bringing into this world? What kind of relationship, or what do we want them to remember of us? How are we doing that? How are we setting the boundaries at home? Boundaries around screen time, boundaries around studying, home learning. How are we having agreements? How are we exploring solutions together as a family? How are we creating routines together? So this workshop will be hands-on. It's going to be physical here in Riyadh. For those of you in Riyadh, you're always welcome to come. In Sema Creative Space, it's going to be on February 15. For those of you who are outside Riyadh, I'm going to have an online workshop on February 22. And as a token of appreciation to you, alumni members, participants in this talk, I have provided a discount code for both workshops, 15%. You can just, for the Sema Creative Space, there's a link as well. If you are interested, we can share it with you. You can just input the discount code. And for the online, you can just contact me and I'll provide you with that. In addition to that, I'm providing the free family meetings booklet. The family meetings is an incredible positive discipline tool. I have provided you with tips in this booklet. Dr. Gracia might be able to share it with you also by email. This is a very nice tool for every family. It helps members create gratitude towards each other, appreciation towards each other, solve problems, learn the life skills, the communication skills that they need for the future. So I'm more than happy to share it with you as well. You can always connect with me on my Instagram page, the Circle of Trust Family, on my WhatsApp and on my website. And I would love to hear your feedback on the session. I would love to hear your takeaways. If there's one takeaway you're taking with you today, what could that be? Please let me know. And thank you so much for your patience with me.
Najwa, thank you. We will have whoever would like to share his final insights because we're running out of time and Yahya is taking off in a few minutes.
Thank you
So go
so
ahead,
much.
guys.
Thank you so much, Najwa, for this amazing webinar. I loved it. It was really enriching and really useful. And thank you, Dr. Gracia, for everything you're doing and for organizing this webinar. You are incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for attending.
Thank you for your support. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Najwa,
Thank
it's
you.
been an honor to host you on our WAAUB Riyadh chapter platform. I believe your insight will echo down the line because we will be sharing this with our larger community in Riyadh, in the kingdom, and in the Arab world. It's not because I believe people need to hear that. I would like to share as a family physician my insight on this presentation that I was interested to hear as a practitioner who deals on a daily basis with parental challenges from my patients who are single parented, who are separated, divorced, expats, you name it. You mentioned one thing about the neuroplasticity of the brain. It starts from here. We as parents, as providers, parents or caregivers to the child, to a parent, to a grandparent, to a patient, to somebody who's suffering, I think it starts from our ability to think outside the box, to accept that we can be in the wrong and not always in the right in our ways, whether inherited or acquired. And the minute we, meaning that parent who could be anybody to a child who could be anybody in need of direction, the minute we realize we need to change our lens of how we perceive our training techniques, or in your case, parenting techniques, it's an avalanche effect. It starts from there. But if we stay rigid in our perceptions and in our beliefs and in our refusal to change, do not expect the receiving end to change. Do not expect your child to listen to you. So you touched on a very important element in parenting that our parents, grandparents, and great-great-parents knew about, but today scientific evidence is shedding more light on it. So thank you for being an evidence-based parent coach. Your material is well received. We appreciate your time and patience. I would like to thank all our AUB alumni who shared their support but weren't able to attend tonight. I'm sure they will be looking forward for the recording. We as Yahya, all the committee members of Riyadh chapter, thank you, and we are ready to support every alumni or alumnus with their ideas. Thank you so much. We will be looking forward to hearing feedback from your workshop. I'd also like to thank all our colleague doctors and who made an effort to attend, and we look forward to future talks. Have a good night, everybody. Be safe and be happy. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
You too. Thank you, everyone.
comments till later. Mrs. Najwa,
Thank
it's
you.
been an honor to host you on our YAUB